Hello everyone, we are the Group 1 and today we are going to discuss how to implement the curriculum and the different subtopics under it. I am Angelica Acoheda and together with me are Ralph Christian Agno, Marimay Alilin, and Gian Alison. So before we start our class formally, let us have first our class energizer called Find a Partner. So this class energizer is good for 10 to 15 minutes only, and its purpose is to energize you students, to promote social interaction, and of course to review key terms about curriculum in a fun and interactive way. So for the instructions, please listen carefully. Find a partner. So once may ara ka na partner, atubangay ka mundua, face each other. For the commands, once maghambal ako nga 1, ibig sabihin, maklap once ka mo sa partner mo. Kay isa lang kay once. Maghambal ako nga 2, clap ka mo kadua. Pero, once maghambal ako nga 3, ibig sabihin, pangita ka sang new partner mo. Take note, nga na partner mo is hindi mo na pwede mag-partner liwat. Kaya ano nga nato nga purpose? Yes, para maka-interact and maka-socialize ka sa other mga classmates. So, for the curriculum challenge rule, ang aton diri is, if someone makes a mistake, for example, ang nagsala siya kay lain ang ginklapan niya, nagklap siya sa wrong number. Example, naghambalan ko nga 1, pero kaduwa siya maglap, consider na ka mistake. Another one is, nalipat siya maghulag kung maklap bala siya or mangita sang partner, mistake man na. And ang last is 50-50, if maklap siya isa, maklap dua or mangita partner. So ang tatlo nga na considered as mistakes. So if may nakomit ikaw da bisan isa sa ila, ibig sabihin you are going to answer our questions nga na prepared. So we have 5 questions and you are going to answer that. Pero once hindi mo masabat or nalipat ikaw or wala ka idea, your partner can help you answer with that question. For the curriculum questions, these are the questions nga sabtan sang inyong nga classmate nga nakakommit sa mistake. So we have 5 rounds and every round is may katumbas nga question nga dapat sabtan nila. For question number 1, they are going to define curriculum. Question number 2, they're going to answer what does curriculum evaluation mean. Third question, what is the role of a teacher as a curricularist? Number 4, give one responsibility of a teacher as a curricularist. And lastly, what is the process of putting the curriculum into action code? Yes, so that is called implementing the curriculum, and we are going to dive deeper on what implementing curriculum means and its subtopics.
So, hello everyone, I am Gian Alison and I will be discussing the definition of curriculum implementation and its key elements. Curriculum implementation defined: the bridge between curriculum design and classroom reality where teacher action transform educational plan into student learning outcome. So, ang curriculum design is the process of planning the structure, content, or delivery an educational program, while ang classroom reality naman is refers sa day-to-day challenges of practical application of the plan in the classroom. So, ang curriculum implementation is naman siya ang paagi between planning and actual teaching sang teacher, where they take educational plans to make them in real classroom to help students learn. So it is additional definition of what is curriculum implementation. So it is a process of putting written curriculum into practice, translating syllabi, course guides, and instructional design into actual classroom teaching and learning. So for the definition, according sa SADC Mo Africa 2000, learners acquired plan knowledge, skills, and attitude that enable them to function effectively in society. So, ang goal diri is dapat ang student makagain sang knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they need for life and society. So, it's a simple means that putting plans into action so students learn useful things in their life. So, para naman kay Amstein and Hauskin, 1998, ang curriculum implementation is the reality the interaction between creating curriculum and teachers who delivered it requiring observable change in the practice knowledge and behavior. So the actual work na gid ang teacher when do they deliver the curriculum, where the teachers interact with the written plans and change how they teach, pag ano nila ginaobra sa klase, and even thinking their behavior to help the student learn better. So ang curriculum implementation is not just following instruction but actively adapting, improving teaching to match the curriculum. So, according naman kay Lux and Lieberman 1983, ang curriculum implementation is the outcome, the trying out of new practices in a closed school system that brings desired improvement and changes. So, ang ilan namin diri nga outcomes is trying new ways of teaching and learning in schools para mabalaan ta bala if kadala siya sang improvement kag changes sa nga atong gusto sa atong mga student. It's also about actual putting new ideas or method into action and check diri if better ang mga ang curriculum sa mga student. Kag if nami gani maka-help ini sa mga student to learn more sa school kag manami man ang pugaan sa eskwelahan. So the outcome is successful and when the new curriculum practices lead to positive result in how students learn and perform. So according to Ornstein and Hanskin in 1998, there are key elements of curriculum. The first one is shift from current to enhance. So moving from existing practices to new or improved curriculum framework. So ang namin diri is changing from old or current ways of teaching and learning to new and better ones. So imagine lang ang ginagamit ka nga same nga libro or method sa kadugayon na pero subong himuon mo na is baguhon mo na nga mag-suit sa student better and prepare them sa school. So the shift means updating kung ano yung ginatudlo or kung paano ka magtudlo to improve student learning and make education more interesting and useful. The second one naman is change in knowledge and attitude. So, teachers and stakeholders develop new understanding and perspective. So, for a better curriculum to work, teachers and everyone involved need to learn new things and think differently about teaching and learning. So, ang namin diri is need naton i-understand ang new teaching method, new content, and the importance of helping every student succeed. So, changing attitude means being open or trying to new ideas or focus of helping students to learn in the best way. So, when teacher change their thinking and gain new knowledge, so they can teach better to help students grow. The third one is new strategies and resources. Adoption of the evidence-based teaching method and support instructional material. So, namin diri is ang mga teachers is gamit sa different ways to explain things sa sila student, to help student, and to make learn fun and meaningful. So, also, gagamit sila sa mga helpful resources like textbook, videos, technology, and activities nga makadali bala maintindihan sa ilang estudyante. So, the last one is achievable goals. Implementation requires time, funding, collaboration, and sustained support to succeed. So, hanging curriculum and teaching is not done in a day. So, it takes time, like money, teamwork, ongoing support from everyone like teachers, school leaders, parents, and communities. So, ang goal diri is need to be realistic so school can reach them step by step. For example, instead of changing everything at once, ang school, gina-introduce nila ang subject or better teaching method slowly or ginamatamat lang to make sure everyone is ready and supported. So, implementation across skills. Curriculum implementation occurs at multiple levels, each requiring different consideration and resources. The first one is classroom level. So, teaching what has been written in lesson plans, using as guides to engage learners in the teaching-learning process with evidence that learning outcomes are achieved. So, sa dari, ang teachers ka-follow sang lesson plans and teach students daily. So, they use these plans to help students learn and make sure that the student meet the learning goals. So, it's about what happened inside each classroom during teaching and learning. So, the last one is ang systematic level. So, expanding across schools, districts, divisions, and entire educational system. In higher education like course, degree programs, institution, and whole system. So sa diri, ginabutang nilang curriculum into practice across many schools, districts, or even entire education system. So diri ka-involve ang organizing, supporting, and monitoring curriculum na magamit nila sa places to ensure consistency and quality. So in higher education, this levels covers courses, degree programs, and whole institutions.
Hello everyone, I am Angelica Aquajeda, and today I will discuss the curriculum implementation as a change process. Kurt Lewin's force field theory and curriculum change. Who is Kurt Lewin? So Kurt Lewin is considered as the father of social psychology. He also explains the process of change. So in his force field theory, this model can be used to explain the curriculum change and implementation. Kurt Lewin's force field theory. In education, there are always two forces that oppose each other. The first one is the driving force, and the other one is the restraining force. So as you can see in the picture, ang blue nga tao is nag-represent sa driving forces, while ang red is restraining force. And sila nga duha is naga-oppose or naga-kontrahanay sa ginatawag nga goal nga ara sa sulad sang bilog. When we say driving force, it is any factor that pushes toward change. It is the positive force for change. On the other hand, when we say restraining force, it is the forces acting to decrease the driving forces. It is the obstacle to change. So, when these two forces are equal, the state is equilibrium or balance. So, to make things easier for you guys, let me demonstrate it with you. So, kagi bala ka mo kahampang sang tug of war. Yes, of course, I know kaagi ka mo kay ara ginapermi present sa mga Girl Scout, Boy Scout, or sa mga acquaintance party or any event. So, I have the rope here guys, and ang blue is ma-represents ang driving force, while ang red is representing the restraining force. So, ang blue is like one team. Kaya diba mag-tug of war ka mo, gabutongay ka mo. Kag kung sino ang mas mapuros or grabe ang strength, sila nga team ang madaog. So, ang blue is driving force. So, ang amo ni siya, ang blue is like isa ka team nga naga-pull sang rope nga ni para mag-change sang mga things kag para mag-move forward. Ibig sabihin, ginabutong yan ni para mabago ang mga things. On the other hand, ang red nga ni, nga restraining force, is like the other team pulling back, trying to stop that change. Ibig sabihin, hindi magsugot ang red nga may change, nga may pagbago. Kay, it is trying to stop that change. Ibig sabihin, ginapunggan niya nga maang gusto sa blue nga ni. So, ginabutong yan ay pabalik. So, when both teams are pulling with the same strength, may matabo or wala? Yes, wala. Nothing will move. So, the situation or the condition will remain the same. Ang ginatawag nga equilibrium or balance. However, when the driving force overpowers the restraining force, then change will happen. Ibig sabihin, kung mas puros ang driving force kaysa sa restraining force, ang change na gastuyan ni is matabo. On the other hand, if ang restraining force is naga-overpower kaysa sa driving force, ibig sabihin, ang change nga to is prevented. Hindi to siya matabo. Amo na ang idea ni Kurt Lewin sa iya nga force field theory. So we will use this theory to explain curriculum change. As you can see in the table, there are driving forces sa left side, and there are restraining forces ara sa right side, and ara in between is ang equilibrium. The first one under the driving force is the government intervention. And ang number one naman sa restraining force is ang fear of the unknown. So for example, the Department of Education introduces a new curriculum that focuses on technology integration. So ang driving force theory is ang government nag-mandate ang nga i-encourage ang every school nga ma-modernize and ma-improve ang quality education nga ihatag sang teachers sa ilang students. Ang restraining force naman is some teachers resist because they are afraid of the unknown. Hadlok sila. Kaya hindi sila sure kung paano gamitin ang technology or ginakulbaan sila kung ma-meet bala nila ang standards nga gusto abuton sang DepEd kag sang government. The second example under the driving force is the society's values, and the restraining force is the negative attitude to change. For example, parents and communities expect schools to prepare students with digital and critical thinking skills. So sa driving force, ang society is nag-demand sang relevant education para mag-motivate ang schools to innovate. Ang sa restraining force naman is some teachers have a negative attitude towards change. Ibig sabihin, hindi sila gusto sang driving force nga to negative ilang attitude, kay mas prefer nila ang chalk and talk methods. The third one is technological changes as driving force and tradition values as the restraining force. For example, ang school is nagaplano nga ma-shift sa paper-based lessons to online learning platforms. Ang driving force is ang technological advances naga-encourage sang student nga magamit sa mga electronic learning, making teaching more engaging. Ang restraining force naman is ang traditional values na make some educators or parents prefer printed books and face-to-face lectures. The fourth one is knowledge explosion under the driving force and limited resources under the restraining force. For example, teachers gain access sa online seminars and education resources para ma-enhance ang ilang teaching. Ang driving force is ang knowledge explosion nga to naga-allow sa teachers nga to learn and to apply new strategies easily. Ang restraining force naman is ang limited resources, may ara lang ang resources is kulang or limited, such as poor internet connection or kulang ang funds nga nagahinder sang participation sang teachers in online learning. To achieve change, we can also provide support like Wi-Fi access, grants, or shared materials. Lastly, administrative support under the driving force and obsolete equipment under the restraining force. Example, the principal supports a project to develop multimedia lessons for math and science. Ang driving force is ang administrative support nagahatag sila sang motivation, funding, and leadership para ma-implement ang changes. On the other hand, ang restraining force, ang obsolete equipment, ibig sabihin mga equipments nisa or mga tools nga no longer useful or efficient, such as old computers or broken projectors, muna sila ang nagapabudlay para ma-execute ang project nga to. So to achieve change, we are going to upgrade facilities gradually or find creative, low-cost alternatives. When both the driving forces and the restraining forces are equal, the school will remain the same. In short, there will be no progress and no regression. Wala may bag-o, ang situation sa school is same man Japon. So, to move forward para ma-achieve natin ang change, leaders must strengthen driving forces. Ibig sabihin, palakason natin to ang positive nga mga driving forces like mahada kita support and training, and i-lessen or ibuhina naton ang restraining forces like ang fear and ang lack of resources. According to Lewin, change will be better if we decrease the restraining forces. Buhina naton ang restraining forces kaysa sa dugangan ang aton nga driving forces. So, as a curricularist, how would you do this? That concludes my report. Thank you for listening.
Good day everyone, I am Ralph Christian Siagno, and now let's talk about the categories of curriculum change. McNeil in 2000 categorized curriculum as follows. First, we have the substitution. Substitution means that the current or the existing curriculum will be replaced or substituted by a new one. Sometimes we call this a total or a complete overhaul other than a revision. Example of this or example of substitution is that changing an old book to an entirely new one. In this case, we're not just revising or adding a new book, but we are replacing or changing it with a new one. The second one is alteration. Alteration means that there is a minor change or modification to the current or existing curriculum without changing its fundamental structure. For example, instead of using a graphing paper for mathematics teaching, this can be altered by using a graphing calculator. In this case, the topic and the goals still stay the same, but the way of teaching or doing the activity is slightly different or slightly changed. Third, we have the restructuring. So, restructuring means building a new structure would mean major change or modification in the school system, degree program, or educational system. It's not just small adjustment, it changes how the whole system works. Example of restructuring is that using of integrated curriculum for the whole school for K-12, it requires both primary or the elementary levels and the secondary levels to work as a team. Another example of restructuring is that when the parents is more involved in their child's instead of leaving it all to the teacher. These changes affects how the teaching and the learning are organized in a major way. Next, we have the perturbation. These are sudden or unexpected changes that are disruptive, but the teachers must quickly adjust to it. So, example of it is if the principal suddenly changes the class schedule to prepare for national testing, or the dean shortens the class time to make room for extracurricular activity. The teacher needs to adapt their lesson right away. These changes are not planned but requires quick adjustment. Lastly, we have the value orientation. To McNeil, this is a type of curriculum change. Perhaps this classification will respond to shift in the emphasis that the teacher provides, which are not within the mission or vision of the school or vice versa. For example, when a new teacher who are recruited in a religious school give emphasis on academics and forget the formation of values or faith, they need a value orientation. Likewise, all teachers in the public schools undergo induction program, which is a special curriculum for our newly hired teachers.
So, good day everyone. My name is Mary May Aline. So, today I will talk about the curriculum as a change process. So, this is the actual process of putting the planned lessons, activities, and goals into actions inside the classroom and school. So, it's not just about having a curriculum on paper, it's about making it work in real teaching and learning situations. So, there are three case elements of curriculum as a change process. First is developmental, second is the participatory, third is supportive. So, the developmental means the curriculum should help both teachers and students grow. So, one time na siya but a continuous process of improvement. So, dapat ang mga teachers try new things, strategies, reflect on what works, and make adjustments. So, may mga process na siyang into stages, which is the orientation and preparation, and practices and adjustment, and reflection and refinement. Next is participatory. Participatory involves many people, not just the teacher. Successful implementation happens when teachers, principals, parents, and students, and even curriculum experts works together. So, kung tanan na sila ma-participate, there is a shared responsibilities and ownership nga maging easier to accept and sustain na siya. So, it builds a learning community where teachers support one another, exchange ideas, and solve problems together. So last is the supportive. Supportive means there must be enough resources and encouragement to make the curriculums work. So may ita mga supports like material supports and human supports. So sa material supports, may dira na ang mga classrooms, equipments, learning tools, and mga supplies naton. So, sa human supports man niya, ang mga training for teachers, guidance from school leaders, teamworks, and moral supports. So, also, ang time is also important support factor. So, curriculum change that not happen overnight, dumatik na siya to 3 to 5 years before it becomes fully established. So teachers need time to plan, adjust, and learn new strategies. For the conclusion, curriculum becomes more successful when teachers are allowed to grow, when people work together, and when there is enough support to make change possible. When teachers share ideas, help one another, and celebrate success, the new curriculum is more likely succeed and be accepted by everyone.